Welcome back to Strictly Business. I'm Randy Gordon. I'm here with our city auditor, Laura Doud, who was elected about 18 months ago, been in office about 15 months. So welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you, Randy. It's great to be here.
Now, I'm assuming that some of the folks watching this show are saying, what does the city auditor really do? But before you tell us that, tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to the point where you said one day, I'm going to run for city auditor.
Sure, thank you. I worked in the city auditor's office back in the early 1990s, so I had some experience in the office. I worked there for about 3 years. And then when I left the office, I went on to become a certified public accountant and a certified fraud examiner, and I went to work for an accounting firm in Los Angeles, where I spent a couple years working there. I then went on to the Water Replenishment District, where I became the controller of that district, and at the same time I was attending law school at night. I just kind of wanted to broaden my horizons of accounting and auditing, so I had a good experience going to law school, and I really didn't have the desire to run for office until the election came up in 2006. As the election started coming up, I realized that nobody was challenging the office of the city auditor, and I really felt like it was an important role. It was just a vital role in our city government that had been sort of laying low and seemed a little stagnant and hadn't been challenged in, I think 8 years. And I realized that it wasn't being challenged again, and I just felt this strong desire to challenge the office, to bring attention to it. I felt the office needed to be invigorated, revitalized, and really kind of bring it up to a level to serve the citizens of Long Beach. As you know, I was born here in Long Beach. So I just have a great love for the city, and I couldn't get that desire out of my heart, so I went for it.
Great answer, Nijus. You're a CPA and an attorney.
I'm not an attorney, but I did go to law school. I did graduate from law school, and as I was studying for the bar, it was the same time the election started.
Oh, I see.
So
it was either take the bar, or win the election.
That's right.
Well, congratulations, you won the election.
Well, thank you.
Now tell the audience a little bit about what your duties are.
Thank you. It is a very important role. It's basically this, I'm the steward over the city's finances. Some people refer to it as the watchdog. We make sure that the city is collecting all the revenue that it's due. We make sure that the city is operating as efficiently as possible. It's interesting. We invited a class of first graders into our office to explain in detail what our office does. We went into the watchdog functions of the city auditor, and it was really interesting to kind of simplify it down to the first grade level. And this class of first graders sent me a thank you note afterwards, a huge thank you note where all the students signed a little message to me. And Tiffany, a first grader, wrote to me, thank you for having us in your office. Please take good care of the money. And I thought, wow, what a great message from a first grader, to take good care of the money. So I'm grateful for this opportunity that you've invited me on your show, because I want Tiffany to know, as well as the rest of Long Beach, that we are taking good care of the money.
Somebody contact Tiffany's mom and set her down on Channel 3 on Monday or Thursday night in the near future. But so I take it that you're really investigating and making sure the city gets all the revenue, more so than the way they spend the expenses, or a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
But more so revenue, because there's probably some revenue under rocks, so to speak, that maybe the city's not getting, right?
That's right. And one example was the oil production tax that I think we may be talking about a little later, but I was so grateful that the Chamber of Commerce did endorse the oil production tax initiative that was on a recent ballot. That was a tax that obviously was not on consumers. It was on the oil production, the oil producers, but they weren't paying really their
fair share.
That's right. The amount of the market. As we know, the price of oil has skyrocketed, but the tax hadn't kept up with it. So that was one of our first real accomplishments in the office, is doing an audit on the oil production tax to ensure that the city is receiving all the money that it's due. And it was really exciting to be a part of that process.
And it was kind of like you uncovered this rock, and here was this revenue that hadn't been raised in many, many years. And of course, everybody knows that everything goes up. And of course, the oil companies weren't going to say, oh, by the way, we need to raise this revenue.
That's right.
But what we found out, because they were so low compared to other cities, that there was very little argument from them. And I think business people are okay with a tax if it's fair, especially in light of comparison to other cities.
That's right, and it hadn't been increased since 1990. So here we are 17 years later,
right,
and we're just bringing it up to market, and as you said, in equity with the other neighboring cities.
And that's going to be millions of dollars over time.
That's right. It's $3.8 million annually.
Every year.
Every year. So that's...
And as the price of oil goes up, that's more than $3.8 million.
That's right, because there is a CPI index that's attached to that. That tax will be adjusted every year according to CPI. So this was a really great victory, I think, for Long Beach as a whole. It was great to be a part of the team, to work with the chamber and to work with the city council and all the parties involved with this. As you know, it required a 2/3 vote, and it received 70% of the vote.
Which is really surprising. That means the consumers understood it. Of course, they understood that it wasn't going to be a tax on them.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people say, well, it's a tax on the oil companies. Well, I'm okay with that.
Right.
Most people probably thought that.
That's right, and the oil companies didn't oppose it, so that helped the process even more. So it was really great for Long Beach.
Now, any more rocks like that you're going to uncover, or is that your biggest one so far?
Well, that's the biggest one so far, but you look at the city's revenue sources. There's the biggest revenue source is property taxes, there's sales taxes. By doing an audit of these particular, nothing is a sacred cow. Some people you might say. We're going to look at all revenue sources to ensure that the city is capturing all of its revenue. I do have to say, though, that we do audit the expenditure side. Every expenditure before it is paid is run through our office, where we do audit, check, verify that these expenditures are where they're supposed to be, they're the proper amount, we're receiving the proper discount and so forth. So we look at every vendor payment before it's paid on the expenditure side as well.
And you, for the folks who may not know this, but you are elected by the people. You cannot be fired or hired except the people. So the people elected you. And so that makes your office very independent, which is very different than some cities. Can you kind of explain what that difference is? Sure,
thank you. That independence is really key to our office. You're right, we do report directly to the people. I don't report to the mayor or the city manager or the finance director or the city council. It's directly to the people because it is an elected independent office. You're right, most cities throughout the state of California do not have independently elected auditors. They have appointed auditors. So there are only 4 independently elected auditors in the whole state of California, which is very unique. But this city got it right. I think our city charter forefathers had the foresight to see that, or founding fathers, I should say, had the foresight to see that how key this independence issue is, that we have the independent, to provide that independent assurance that public funds entrusted to the city are spent prudently, are well managed, are spent for those services the citizens should expect to receive. So that independence really is key.